The oak-paneled room was too quiet. The only sound was the shuffle of papers and the shallow breathing of greedy men. My father sat at the head of the table as though he were still king of something. My brother leaned back in his chair, smug, already imagining the spoils. When I rose from my seat, my father's eyes cut into me. "You're just a waitress," he sneered. "Shut up and sit down." His voice carried the same venom I'd heard my entire life. The room chuckled with him, old friends, cousins, opportunists, all circling like vultures. I didn't answer. I simply tilted my chin and gave a small signal. The lawyer beside my mother shifted forward, carrying the envelope that would change everything. That was the moment their hands began to shake. I used to worship him, my father, the man who taught me how to ride a bike, who told me I could do anything. Back then, I believed him. But words are cheap, especially from a man who built his empire on control, manipulation, and fear. The older I grew, the clearer it became. He valued sons, not daughters. He valued obedience, not individuality. And when my mother's illness hollowed her out, he didn't sit by her side. He made jokes about her weakness. I was the one who fed her soup, who read her books at night, who whispered that she mattered. And maybe, somewhere deep down, he hated me for that, because I was proof of how small he really was. I noticed it first in the way he and my brother spoke when they thought I wasn't listening. Phrases like, "clean split," "the assets will stay with us," "she doesn't need to know." Then came the whispers at family dinners, cousins nudging each other, calling me the outsider. And finally, the blow. I found out the original will left everything to them, my father and brother. Not a penny to my mother, not even a mention of me. I didn't scream, I didn't beg. I poured coffee during the day and studied law at night. Every page, every clause, every loophole became a weapon, and I bided my time. The shift began when I approached my mother's lawyer, quietly, discreetly. She was frail then, my mother, but her mind was sharp. I told her what they had planned. I asked her what she wanted. Her answer was simple: "I want you to have what I was denied." Together, we drafted a new will, ironclad, buried under legal armor they couldn't pierce. We filed it silently, under confidentiality orders, sealed until her death. Meanwhile, I played my role, the forgotten daughter, the waitress, the obedient shadow in the corner. They thought I was weak. They mistook silence for surrender. And that was their fatal mistake. Back in the room, my father leaned forward as the lawyer unfolded the pages. His arrogance faltered as her voice echoed across the table. "This is the most recent, legally binding testament of the late Mrs. Callahan." The words landed like knives. My brother's smirk disappeared. My father's face flushed, his jaw twitching as he realized control was slipping from his hands. The clauses were read aloud. Every estate, every business share, every account transferred to me. Safeguards embedded to prevent challenges. Penalties for interference. Detailed provisions that stripped them of power. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I just watched their world collapse piece by piece, like a tower of cards under the weight of truth. My father slammed his fist on the table. "This is a trick, a fraud!" His voice cracked, betraying the first tremors of fear. The lawyer calmly slid over the signatures, the notary seals, the recordings. Proof stacked so high even he couldn't tear it down. My brother shouted something incoherent, his hand gripping the table's edge until his knuckles whitened. He looked at me like I had stolen his birthright. But the truth was simpler. They had stolen from my mother for years. I had merely returned what was hers, what was rightfully mine. The silence after the reading was heavier than any scream. I remember my father's eyes then. Not angry, not even disappointed, just afraid. For the first time, the man who ruled everything realized he had no power here. His empire, his wealth, his control, all gone. And me? I was no longer the waitress in their story. I was the executor, the heir, the one holding the pen that rewrote the ending. People imagine revenge feels like fire, like rage burning through your veins. For me, it felt like ice, calm, precise, a glacier crushing everything in its path. I didn't gloat, I didn't yell. I simply stood, gathered my bag, and said, "You told me once I was nothing. Today, nothing owns everything." Their faces, contorted with disbelief, fury, helplessness, are etched into me forever. That night, alone, I poured myself a glass of wine and read the will again under the soft glow of the lamp. Every line, every word was a monument to patience, to restraint, to justice served cold. I thought about my mother, about the way her hand